I know all too well how challenging it is to maintain a historic house, Mapperton, of course. But I've been able to visit Rowena and James here at Pitchford and see that they have the same challenging issues, really, that we face, all historic house owners do face, and that's really being able to repair and renovate and restore and preserve this part of Britain's heritage. It's so much work.
It's another job for us to get this kind of restored,
Yep.
get the mechanism working, get the kind of pulleys working, and get this, chiming out on the hour or every half hour.
For most people watching and listening to you, they would think 2 to 3 months is not a quick restoration, but for historic house owners, it actually is.
It's right.
When I married into the British aristocracy, it was the start of a wonderfully exciting journey. But it was also a little daunting. I became a Viscountess, and for an American girl from a small town outside Chicago, that was quite a shock.
I live with my husband Luke, heir to the Earl of Sandwich, and our family at Mapperton House in Dorset.
Mapperton has opened up an extraordinary new world for me, and I can't wait to share it with you all.
So if you love castles and manors and stately homes as much as I do, please join me as I head off to visit some of Britain's most spectacular historic homes.
So excited to show you the attic, Julie.
Oh my goodness. This is what I love about these historic houses. There's always attics and secret places. What do you guys think of this attic for hiding? Or is it too scary?
Too scary.
Too scary. Too scary. This is incredible. Let me ask first and foremost, when you came back in 2016 and you came up to that attic, was this at least okay, as in?
More than okay. I mean, just so good to see it like this, because my parents spent 10 years doing the roof in the 80s, so the one fantastic, my parents' legacy was the house would have fallen down in 25 years if it wasn't for the roof. So to be able to come in here is very reassuring, and the green oak that was here originally, and it's just the guts of the house, isn't it? And as you can see from here, the other thing that reassured me was the bats are still here, and we had a plague of bats in the 80s, so it's nice to see the bats still around.
The bats were still around. I mean, absolutely stunning just to see this, that these have really survived for, gosh, almost 400 years.
Yeah, look how brilliantly they've survived.
Brilliant, but it's vast up here.
I mean, to think that the servants used to live out here, I mean, there are taper marks.
So that's why this was built, for the servants to live up here.
And they hung their curtains on these poles.
No.
So when I see that, I kind of can picture an actual person, Downton Abbey style up here.
Absolutely. This is better than Downton Abbey's downstairs. The upstairs is much better at Pitchford than it is at the downstairs in Downton. This is great. It's literally like Alice in Wonderland,
Julie,
up here.
This is the clock tower that's so kind of prominent. When you're on the south lawn and you're looking up to the house, and Edward's just testing it. So this obviously used to work. There's a mechanism which was just here, which is being restored at the moment, and then there are these huge kind of weights down there and a pulley system, and a date of. Can we find a date?
I've already spotted it.
What was it?
Well, because it's 1776.
Yeah. Cool, isn't
so,
it?
but is that an American connection?
I don't know. But
because that's when we've really, we declared our freedom.
Yeah, no, I know.
1776.
I know, it's incredible.
We've got to do some research on this.
I absolutely agree. So anyway, look, it's been there, and we look, it's another job for us to get this kind of restored, get the mechanism working, get the kind of pulleys working, and get this, you know, chiming out on the hour or every half hour.
And before we make our way downstairs, Rowena shows me a rare structural treasure of Pitchford's medieval past.
So this is the thing, so in the 80s they're doing the roof and there's huge excitement. They basically suddenly discover, if you possibly could shine a light, you will see a medieval crown post. So it proves that whole thing there at the back, the bendy bit. So that's where the Pitchford family, so this house is built on top of the Pitchford family house, which I love.
My goodness, so they discovered this when they were redoing the roof.
So we didn't even know it was here. We obviously had...
Yeah, I can see that.
We were very sure that it was likely, but no one had proof.
And then this is your proof right here.
It's basically here. Look, it's called a crown post roof, and very little crown post roofs survive because they're so incredibly old from the medieval times. But this is a little piece of history to prove the point.
Absolutely. I mean, wonderful. I mean, it's just, I mean, you'll have more and more treasures. I mean, don't you find that with these historic houses? I mean, I know you grew up here, but
you
still discover over and over again. You still discover.
We're learning all the time.
Yeah.
From the YouTube viewers, I hope you will teach us a whole lot more.
They will. Be prepared. They're going to be sending you letters and information and artifacts and maybe some of your treasures too.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Thank you so much for watching these Historic House episodes of American Viscountess. We are so proud with what we are doing with these episodes and helping to really preserve Britain's heritage. But we need your help as we rely entirely on the support of our patrons to cover the costs of production. Do consider becoming an American Viscountess patron. Head to patreon.com/American Viscountess, and I hope to see you there.
One of the first restoration projects the family took on when they moved back to Pitchford in 2016 was the summer house. No small task, as it had completely disappeared under a web of ivy and moss.
Well, I can see here that you've repaired this.
Yeah. You can also see all the woodworm.
Oh, the woodworm. I wasn't going to say anything.
That's right. So there's a bit more to do.
But this is one of the big restoration projects that you have completed. And what is this called again? Remind me.
So I call it the Pitchford Summer House.
Right.
And it's Edwardian. I think it's Edwardian.
Yes.
It's probably, we appear in Country Life in 1901 and 1917. Between 1901 and 17, it appears, the Summer House. And all these kind of red sandstone retaining kind of walls.
Right.
So quite a lot of work was done in the kind of early Edwardian ages. And this is, in my view, an Edwardian summer house.
Right. But I also, of course, saw the restoration actually happening through your Instagram channel.
Good.
So be sure to check out their Instagram as well, because you're very good at having your followers come along for the ride. So I was able to really watch the stages of restoration with this, and then the celebration of when it was completed. Well, I think it's brilliant. And then you were able, I think I saw as well, you were able to do the entire roof, because there was moss or
it was awful. So I mean, it was just ivy and kind of vegetation all over the roof. Ivy, kind of kind of curtain of ivy, and you almost had to kind of go like that to part it and go into summer house. So,
oh my goodness.
So it's a huge transformation. And one of the first jobs we did was actually get up on the roof. I remember with my father, who's 85 now, and we were just cutting back the ivy kind of on the roof to try and get things back, so at least we could see what we had to restore. And the roofer has done a brilliant job. These are called Harnage stone slates. They're quarried about 3 miles away.
Okay.
They've got loads of fossils in them. They're absolutely stunning. That should give it 30, 40, 50 years of life, hopefully.
Exactly, and enjoyment.
Yeah, exactly.
For others. I mean, it is beautiful. But I know from your Instagram that this is not the only renovation that's been completed.
Yeah,
it's quite a big one coming up.
That's right.
Celebration.
No, there is a big one coming up, and it was inspired by someone who actually lives in a historic house about 10, 15 miles away from Pitchford, called Acton Round Hall, and he knew Pitchford very well when Rowan's parents own the house, and he came to us about a year and a half ago and said, you need to restore the library. You know, that's your number one priority. And, you know, we've done it. And he came up with a design based on a garden in Hampton Court, a Tudor garden.
Right.
In Hampton Court. And it's, well, you know, you'll see it soon. It's quite wacky. It's quite wacky.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have lots of questions.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's quite out there. It's quite over the top.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. So when you got Pitchford back, what was in this library?
So this was very derelict. It was one of the worst. It's one of the worst rooms in the house, actually.
Right.
So that was it.
Oh my goodness, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything was gone, and this is what it looked like in 1992, you know, when Rowan and his parents left it. So, you know, it was a nice country house library.
Absolutely.
And all the books were sold at the Christie's auction. And then bizarrely, in the space between 1992 and 2016, all these book cases were stripped out. Oh. And we don't really know why. And that's why we ended up with, you know, a room that was, in a sense, a blank canvas, and allowed us to, you know, create this neo-Tudor Gothic library. A lot of people have said to us, if you have got a blank canvas, do stamp your own mark on it. You don't have to inherit kind of everything from other people's tastes, you know, Georgians, Victorians, Elizabethans, etc., etc. So we did feel we could maybe strike out in a slightly different direction. And we felt that, you know, this was a beautiful library, but we didn't really need to go back to that. But it was inspired by this man, you know, Hugh Kennedy, who you know, lives relatively nearby, and he said, this is where I think you should go.
Yes.
And
these are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, those appeared about 2-3 weeks ago, and we had fun hanging them.
Lovely.
I mean, they're heavy.
Lovely. But here, right
heavy.
here, and I do see on each of the bookcases, you've got different sort of coat of arms.
So it starts with the Pitchford family in the kind of Crusader knight, and then it goes along to the Otley family, the Coates family, the Jenkinson family, the Grant family, Rowena's family, the Colthurst family, my family.
Right.
And we've even got the Kyoto Princess.
Do you?
Marked there.
Oh my
so we felt, you know, she was part of that line from 1280. So we wanted to, you know, incorporate everyone's coats of arms.
Every library needs good heraldry, so
exactly.
This is outstanding. It's fantastic. So there's obviously a celebration tonight. It's sort of the commemoration or the cutting of the ribbon.
It's to thank. You know, it's to thank the volunteers essentially and the donors. So, you know, a lot of people who've donated money towards getting the library to this state, and a lot of people have donated their time in terms of painting.
Yes.
So through the winter, you know, those kind of long winter nights, there are about 20-30 people in Shropshire just kind of painting away. And, you know, it's so kind of them. So this is a kind of thank you guys. For being so incredibly supportive of, you know, the Pitchford restoration.
Yes. As you can see, I've completely changed my outfit because I might get wet. And thank goodness that we have Le Chameau as one of our sponsors for American Viscountess, because when I go and visit these historic houses, a lot of times it gets muddy. Remember, it rains a lot in the UK, and when I'm dealing with water, I want to make sure to try to keep my feet as dry as possible. So here I am. Here we are.
Yay!
Yay! So
you're in for a treat, Julie.
I'm really excited because I don't know anything about, do you call it coracling?
Coracling, you said it literally perfectly.
What is a coracle? And tell me about how this was a part of your growing up.
Oh no, absolutely delighted to. So a coracle, as you can see, is an absolutely fabulous, very simple fishing boat. So the essence was, this is an iron bridge coracle, so iron bridge obviously being in Shropshire close by. So it was quite expensive to go across the actual iron bridge, so instead they would have a cheap and cheerful way of fishing and getting across the river.
How easy or hard is it to fall in?
If you get it right and do the perfect figure of 8, which will be very, very simple to teach you, not a problem at all, not even a ripple. But if you get a bit overexcited and things, then they can tip over very easily, which is really great fun. So I used to have a great time tipping all my friends into the lake in my childhood. But I promise I won't do that to you.
Okay.
So you know when I showed you the pitch well?
Yes.
And the natural bitumen seeping up. So of course, look, these are tar-bottomed boats. They literally, so they come, that's how you waterproof them. So every year we used to, the spring would come out, this amazing weather, exactly this time of year, and we'd retar the things already so they're waterproof, because obviously they start leaking otherwise.
Using your own pitch.
Our own pitch. So basically we've got you, absolutely got you a life jacket. I'm sure you're a brilliant swimmer, Julie.
So am I rowing?
So it's really a figure of 8, and it's very, very simple.
I just have this feeling I'm going to fall in. When you kind of go into things like this with no experience and you get this gut feeling that you're going to fall in, I think that's what's going to happen.
You're not going to fall in.
Okay, are you really holding on to this? Okay, so I'm facing out. Okay, here, yeah. Thanks, James. Okay.
You sit front and then you sit right in the middle, perfect balance.
Goodness.
Do you feel happy?
Yeah, I feel happy.
Okay.
Now,
so are you
balanced?
I'm right by Are you balanced?
And by land, I'm balanced. Yeah.
Okay. And just very gently, just don't do any sudden movements. You'll be fine. A little bit of a figure of 8.
Yeah, just build confidence.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
They're much more stable than you think. It's really.
I'm trying to do what Georgiana was doing. Oh my goodness! This figure of 8. What?
You're doing brilliantly, Julie. That's perfect.
Is it? So I'm watching Georgiana.
I have to say, those Le Chameau pink boots are fabulous. They're just the thing for Coracle.
If I do sink, look for the pink boot, right? Edward, how am I doing? On a scale of 1 to 10. Exactly.
Maybe you get in.
Okay, let's have a little. You're doing brilliantly.
Going in circles here. I mean, I got out here, so at least I didn't stay there going in the circle. I have to say, I found this incredibly restorative. It's wonderfully soothing. I loved it. I would do this every day for my mental health, every day. I loved it. I thought it was just brilliant. But now it's just getting off.
Yeah, okay.
Here we go. Thank goodness for James. All right, so you tell me when I'm good.
I would jump quickly.
Okay, great. Oh, gosh. Yes! Yay!
Bye.
Oh, I loved it. I really loved that, I have to say. I'm happy I had my life jacket on though, because Georgiana and Serena were telling me about the size of the fish in there. So I was happy I had this on. That was brilliant. That was so brilliant. Oh my goodness. Remember, not only can you watch all American Viscountess Historic House episodes on YouTube, but you can now listen to them while you're on the go. So yes, we've just launched our very own American Viscountess podcast, and you'll be able to listen to all of these Historic House stories on the go and on all streaming platforms. I'm really looking forward to stepping inside this Norman church. Rowena did mention that her parents are buried here, and here they are, lovely primroses all around. And this is where Rowena and James were married. And I actually find that interesting because they're obviously married when the house wasn't in their possession anymore. So imagine getting married here, and then you see the house that had been sold. I think it must have been quite poignant for them to actually take the plunge and marry here. Beautiful church. Now, Rowena did mention this effigy that was in here, and I wanted to come by and see it. So this monument commemorates Sir John de Pitchford, who was born in 1237. So he was one of the Crusaders. And here it says the effigy and the slab upon which it rests are carved from a single piece of oak. The head rests upon a cushion, and you can see he has his chainmail right there as well, whilst the feet are planted against a grotesque creature, apparently a lion, which gnaws at the end of the warrior's scabbard. Wow. So here it is. I mean, this is an enormous, very tall Crusader. Beautifully done. Carving's absolutely beautiful. But how interesting, that grotesque creature. I mean, I don't necessarily think of lions as grotesque, but maybe they did back then.
I think you should do that again.
Okay, okay, sorry. Cut. So I've just was filming here, not very well. Victoria's cut me a few times. But as we were filming, John, the Crusader, sorry, I didn't even get your name.
Jill.
Jill.
Yeah.
Jill has just walked in, kid you not, and this is your, how many times removed descendant?
Was it 13th or 12th? 13th, yeah.
Ancestor. So this is the first time you've seen it, Jill?
Yes.
Your
yeah.
ancestor.
Yeah.
What do you think? What are your what is your, because I've just obviously been researching it myself from what I read.
Yeah. It's lovely.
But it's lovely.
Lovely to see.
But I was quite surprised at how tall he is.
Yes, very tall.
Now, where does your ancestor come from?
Originally from France, and then they come here in Shropshire.
Okay,
But,
so he was a Crusader, yes, came over. Is your last name Pitchford?
Before, yes.
Yeah.
Married, yes.
No. Before you got, but your
Yes.
maiden name?
Yes. Was
It's
a
Pitchford?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. No, that even makes me more excited because that means, you know, this Crusader that, of course, the name has continued on 1,000 years later.
Yes.
So your maiden name is Pitchford?
Yes. Yeah.
And you happen to come to this church. Have you never been here before?
No, I've never been before, no. Thought we'd come today. Yeah.
This is brilliant. No, sorry, that makes me even more excited. You know, because a lot of times when it's 1,000 years, I would have expected the name to somehow change, and it would have been, but Pitchford.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
No, it's lovely
wonderful.
To see. Yeah, lovely to see.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'll let you video some more.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
How incredible.
What better way to end my current visit to Pitchford Hall than to join the party celebrating the restoration of the library?
Just walking in here, you can't help but smile because really this is Rowena and James's mark on things. They walked into this room in 2016 and it was wet and damp and empty and a clean slate, and they thought, rather than putting it back to what people expect us to do and what it used to be, let's create something that people will talk about. And that's what you want. When people come to these historic houses, you want people to leave talking about something. And I'm definitely, I definitely will be talking about this, and I bet you will as well, this extraordinary library that has been commissioned. And for me, the pieces that stand out are the chandeliers. I love the chandeliers because I love the contrast of this sort of very dark red and gold yellow with the blue and the yellow as well. And it's really rather wonderful.
We raise a toast to Hugh Kennedy and the King Henry Library and everyone who helped. Thank you so, so much.
What an amazing time I've had visiting Pitchford Hall. You can really sense the life and vitality returning to this historic home. Rowena, James, and their family absolutely love it here, and their passion and determination to restore Pitchford to its former glory and at the same time put their own mark on it is incredibly inspiring. Coming soon to American Viscountess, I visit Beaulieu in Hampshire, an historic home with a Montague family connection, once a medieval abbey and now home to the National Motor Museum. And I'll be visiting the glorious Dean Park in Northamptonshire, where I dine in style and help with wedding preparations.